Hey there, fellow knowledge seekers. Welcome to another deep dive that might just turn your ideas about what it takes to be a successful entrepreneur upside down.
Yeah.
We are going deep into Winners and Losers by Don Schmincke.
Okay.
And this book, oh my goodness, this is not your typical business book.
Yeah.
We're really going to be challenging some assumptions today.
Absolutely.
So to get us started, I think it's important to know a little bit about who Don Schmincke is.
Yeah.
Because, anybody can write a book and slap a catchy title on it, right?
But what makes this guy
what makes this guy credible? What makes us want to listen to him?
Yeah.
So, first of all, you're not going to believe this. The guy has a background in planetary physics.
Yeah, planetary science, studying the cosmos. And then he makes this crazy leap to coaching CEOs.
Wow.
What? How does that even happen?
I know. It's like the career paths really don't match up, but somehow it does.
Yeah.
And not only that, but I was also doing a little research and I found out that he's worked with the U.S. Navy.
Wow.
And the Pentagon.
That's a pretty impressive resume.
I know, it's impressive.
Yeah.
So the guy's obviously brilliant, obviously knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
But what's really interesting is that the core of his argument in the book is that to become a winner in the entrepreneurial world, you have to master the art of losing.
Losing powerfully.
Yeah.
Losing powerfully. What a concept. It's funny because we're so conditioned to fear failure, to avoid it at all costs.
Right.
But what if embracing those losses could actually be the key to unlocking our potential as entrepreneurs?
Okay, I am intrigued.
Yeah.
So how does he break this whole thing down?
Well, he tackles it head on by dissecting some of those common entrepreneurial myths we've all heard a million times.
Yeah.
And the first one he goes after is this idea that people follow you. That to be successful, you need to be this charismatic, larger-than-life leader that everyone just naturally gravitates towards.
Okay, that makes sense on the surface level.
Right.
It's like, oh, I'm charismatic, I'm a leader, people will follow me, no problem.
Exactly.
But I have a feeling it's not that simple.
It's not. And Schmincke uses a brilliant example to illustrate this. Steve Jobs.
Okay, yeah, Steve Jobs. Visionary, genius, but not exactly known for being the warmest and fuzziest leader, right?
Right. Not exactly Mr. Nice Guy.
So why did people follow him? It's not like everyone at Apple was just head over heels in love with his personality. There had to be something more to it.
Exactly. And this is where it gets really interesting. Schmincke introduces this concept he calls the winning saga, which, get this, he learned from studying ancient cultures.
Ancient cultures. Okay, now I'm really curious.
I know, right? We're talking about Vikings.
Vikings. Okay, you have my full attention.
So picture this. You've got these fierce warriors.
Right.
They're sailing uncharted seas. They're driven by myths, by legends. Schmincke says their power wasn't just about the chieftain's charisma. It was about the lure of the unknown, the promise of adventure, of conquest. They were captivated by the winning saga, the story of what lay ahead.
So it's not just about who is leading, but what they're charging toward, the journey itself.
Exactly. It's the power of a compelling narrative, of a future worth fighting for.
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
Think about the stories that have always resonated with you. Whether it's a book, a movie, a business idea, there's always that element of adventure, of pushing boundaries, of striving for something bigger than yourself.
Definitely. Starting to see where you're going with this.
It's not just about you, the leader. It's about the quest. It's the shared journey that unites people.
Okay.
And to really drive this point home, Schmincke talks about this expedition he was on in Bhutan.
Oh, wow.
Amazing team. They accomplished incredible things.
Yeah.
But when they reached that final peak, when there was no next mountain to climb, the energy just vanished.
Wow, that's incredible. So even with a strong leader, without that powerful why, that compelling winning saga, even the most dedicated team can lose their way.
Precisely.
That's when you realize how crucial that sense of purpose truly is.
It's essential. And that actually brings us to another myth that Schmincke tackles. Work your plan. The idea that you have to meticulously plan every step of your entrepreneurial journey.
Oh, I've heard that one a million times.
Right. Always be planning, always be prepared.
But something tells me Schmincke has a slightly different perspective.
You could say that. He brings up a powerful example to illustrate his point. The Battle of Mogadishu, or as it's more commonly known, Black Hawk Down.
Okay, I see where this is going.
Even the military, with all their detailed strategies, their highly trained personnel, they can't always account for every single variable.
It's so sobering thought for sure. No matter how well prepared you are, you can't control everything.
Exactly. And Schmincke actually interviewed Matt Eversman, one of the military leaders who was in Mogadishu during that battle.
Oh.
Eversman summed it up perfectly when he said, "The enemy has a vote."
Meaning, no matter how much you plan, no matter how much you try to control the situation, the unexpected can and will happen.
Precisely.
So what are we supposed to do? Throw our plans out the window?
Yeah.
Just wing it?
Not exactly. Schmincke sees plans as living, breathing things. They're starting points that need to evolve and adapt as the situation unfolds.
So ditch the rigidity and embrace the pivot.
Exactly.
That actually reminds me of another thing we hear all the time. Perseverance is key. Never give up, right? But is that always the case?
That's an excellent question, and you're right. That's another one of those entrepreneurial truths that Schmincke challenges in his book.
I was thinking about that because he calls that myth number 3, I believe.
Yes. Myth #3. Persevere.
Yeah.
Myth #3. Persevere. He actually asked this really interesting question. What if, in some cases, giving up is the smarter move?
Whoa. Okay, now that's not something you hear every day, especially in the business world.
Right. It seems so counterintuitive.
It does.
Like we should be pushing through no matter what.
Yeah, never give up.
Right, but sometimes holding on to a failing idea, even with the best intentions, it can actually block you from seeing those new opportunities, those potentially more successful opportunities.
Yeah, you get tunnel vision.
Yeah. And Schmincke actually found evidence for this in a pretty unexpected place. His research on samurai warriors.
Samurai warriors. Okay, how does that even connect to giving up? Those guys were all about discipline and like almost mythical levels of perseverance.
Right, you'd think so, wouldn't you? But here's the thing. Schmincke found that the samurai were masters of letting go.
Really?
Yeah, they understood that holding on to something that wasn't serving them anymore,
Okay.
whether it was an outdated tactic or a losing battle, it was actually preventing them from achieving something greater.
So it's about recognizing when to cut your losses, when to shift gears, and move on to a potentially more advantageous path.
Exactly. And it's not just about, ancient warriors. Schmincke highlights entrepreneurs like Will Henshaw, the guy who created those awesome Bluetooth headphones.
Oh, yeah.
And Kim Song-il, a South Korean tech innovator. Both of these guys achieved their biggest successes after abandoning their initial plans.
Interesting. So sometimes letting go is actually the key to moving forward.
It can be. It really makes you think twice about that whole never give up mantra, doesn't it?
It does. And it makes me want to hear more about those entrepreneurs and how they knew when to pivot, but maybe we can circle back to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do want to get through all of these myths. So
Okay, yeah.
that brings us to myth number 4, right?
Yes. Myth #4. Happy employees.
Okay, so this is the idea that everybody wants to work in a positive, supportive environment.
Right. Which on the surface seems like a good thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems like a no-brainer. Who wouldn't want their employees to be happy?
Exactly. But Schmincke's point isn't that you shouldn't create a healthy work environment or that you shouldn't care about your employees' well-being. It's that this constant, relentless pursuit of happiness can actually backfire.
Okay, how so? I'm listening.
Think about it like this. The self-esteem movement.
Okay.
This whole idea that we need to shield kids from failure, that if we just give them enough praise and participation trophies, they'll grow up with unshakable confidence.
Right.
But it turns out that by protecting people from discomfort, from the possibility of failure, we're actually making them less equipped to handle the challenges of the real world.
It's like those participation trophies everyone loves to make fun of now.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
the same concept. Schmincke's arguing that by constantly protecting people from discomfort, we're actually hindering their growth and resilience.
So it's about finding that balance between, being supportive and creating a positive work environment, but also allowing for growth through challenges.
Exactly. Think about a time when you really grew from a tough experience. A time when you stumbled or maybe even failed, but you came out of it stronger and more resilient. Discomfort can be a catalyst for growth.
It's true. When I look back, some of my biggest leaps forward came after a period of intense struggle or setbacks.
Right. There's value in those experiences.
Okay, so we've tackled people follow you, work your plan, persevere, happy employees. What other entrepreneurial truth bombs does Schmincke drop on us?
Well, get ready for this one because it might challenge a business cliche you've heard 1,000 times. Be the lead dog.
Oh yeah, that's a classic. But he doesn't agree with that one either.
Let's just say he offers a fresh perspective.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
And he actually illustrates it with a funny anecdote about, of all things, Dog sledding?
Dog sledding.
Okay.
Okay, now you have to tell me about this.
So Schmincke is an avid dog sledder.
I had no idea.
I know, right?
So he's out there, braving the elements, mushing through the snow. He's learned from experience that the lead dog, contrary to popular belief, actually has the toughest job. Wait, really? I always pictured the lead dog as having the most, glamorous position. Leading the pack, blazing new trails, all that.
It seems that way, doesn't it? But those lead dogs, they're the ones responsible for navigating, for setting the pace, for dealing with any obstacles head on.
Right.
The dogs in the back, they're just enjoying the ride.
It's kind of like being a CEO, isn't it? All the responsibility, the weight of every decision on your shoulders.
Exactly. And Schmincke tells this hilarious story about a dog sledding trip where the dogs in the back were so busy goofing off, completely ignoring the lead dog's commands, that they ended up pulling the sled off course right into a ravine.
Oh, wow. Are you serious? That sounds terrifying.
It was a little hairy, but everyone was okay in the end, thankfully. But it really drove home this point. True leadership isn't about being out front, barking orders all the time. It's about empowering your team, trusting them to handle things, even when you're not there to micromanage every little decision.
Okay, I'm definitely rethinking this whole lead dog thing now.
It's about building a strong team and then getting out of their way.
Delegation. Got it.
Yeah.
So what's the final myth that Schmincke tackles in his book?
This one's a big one. The myth of unlimited human potential.
Wait, but isn't that a good thing? To believe in people's ability to grow and achieve amazing things.
In theory, yes, but Schmincke argues that this belief, as well-intentioned as it is, can set us up for disappointment, both for ourselves and the people we work with.
Okay, I can see that. You have these expectations, and if someone doesn't meet them, it can be really disheartening.
Exactly. And Schmincke actually learned this the hard way. He's very open in the book about the fact that he's lost a significant amount of money by hiring people based solely on their potential.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah. He talks about losing over $1 million on employees who, despite his best efforts, just didn't live up to the potential he saw in them.
Ouch. That's a tough lesson to learn, especially on that scale.
It is. But it taught him a valuable lesson. Everyone has a capacity, a limit to what they can realistically achieve.
Yeah.
And sometimes, no matter how badly we want it to, that capacity doesn't align with our aspirations or the aspirations we have for others.
So it's not about assuming everyone can reach the same level of success.
Right.
It's about recognizing that everyone has their own strengths, their own limitations, and finding the right roles for those capabilities.
Exactly. And it's not just about gut feeling or intuition. Schmincke actually references this fascinating research by a guy named Dr. Elliot Jacques, who developed this whole concept of cognitive complexity levels.
Cognitive complexity levels. I'm not familiar with that.
Essentially, it's the idea that our brains have different capacities for handling complexity, for problem solving.
Yeah.
And these capacities, they can influence our potential, regardless of our skills or experience. Jacques actually identified 7 levels of cognitive complexity, each with its own characteristics.
Wow, 7 levels. That's a lot.
It is, but it's fascinating stuff. So you might have someone who thrives in a role that requires really meticulous attention to detail following established procedures.
Right.
And then you have someone else who might excel in a more strategic role. They're analyzing complex data, they're making high-level decisions, things like that.
Right, so trying to fit a square peg into a round hole, so to speak, isn't going to benefit anyone.
Exactly. So as much as we might want to believe in unlimited potential, the reality is everyone has their own unique capabilities.
And that's okay.
Right.
It's about understanding those realities and creating an environment where individuals can thrive within those realities.
Absolutely. And that's a perfect segue into what I think is the heart of Schmincke's message.
Okay.
He's not trying to discourage aspiring entrepreneurs. He's not saying, don't even try, it's too hard, you're going to fail.
Yeah.
He believes so passionately in the power of entrepreneurship to change the world. But he wants people to go into it with a more realistic and I think a more resilient mindset.
So it's about embracing the challenges, the setbacks, the failures even, as opportunities for growth.
Exactly, because by understanding the power of losing, by learning how to navigate those inevitable setbacks, we actually increase our chances of long-term success.
That's a really empowering way to look at it.
Yeah.
It's not about avoiding failure. It's about knowing how to fail well, to turn those losses into stepping stones.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've dissected 6 entrepreneurial myths. We've explored the power of losing, delved into adaptation, delegation, human potential. What else does Schmincke have in store for us? Okay, so we've dissected 6 entrepreneurial myths. We've explored the power of losing, delved into adaptation, delegation, human potential. What else does Schmincke have in store for us?
Well, he kind of ends the book on this really inspiring note.
Okay.
He reminds us that entrepreneurs, they've always been the ones pushing the boundary, driving progress from those ancient innovations, back when people were figuring out agriculture and the wheel.
Right.
All the way to today with all the technology and advancements we've got.
Yeah.
It's always been that entrepreneurial spirit. Yeah. That's what keeps pushing us forward,
It's like we're not just building businesses, we're building the future. Right?
Exactly. And he brings up this really fascinating example to illustrate this point.
Okay.
Father Junipero Serra, who was this Franciscan priest way back in the 18th century.
Wow.
He journeyed from Mallorca, Spain, all the way to California.
Oh, wow.
Talk about entrepreneurial spirit, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge undertaking, sailing across the ocean to a whole new land.
Right.
What was he even chasing after?
So Father Serra, he was driven by this vision to establish missions in California.
The missions.
Yeah. And those missions, they became the foundation for major cities like San Diego and San Francisco that we know today.
Wow, I never knew that.
It's pretty amazing when you think about it.
Yeah.
Imagine the risks he took, the setbacks he must have faced back then.
I mean, yeah. It really puts our modern-day challenges into perspective.
It really does.
So what's the takeaway?
I think Schmincke is using Father Serra's story to remind us that we all have a role to play in shaping the future.
Okay.
Like, it's not just about those big historical figures. It's about each one of us.
Okay.
Taking those risks, embracing those challenges, and remembering that every setback, it's just an opportunity to adapt, to learn, to come back even stronger.
I love that. Fail forward. So it's not just about personal success, though, right? I feel like there's a bigger picture here.
Absolutely. Schmincke also talks about the impact of entrepreneurship on a larger scale. He argues that business, when done right, ethically, with a sense of purpose, it can be a force for good in the world.
I like that.
We often hear about the negative sides of business.
It's true. There's a lot of focus on the downsides.
Yeah, but Schmincke highlights the positive impact as well.
Okay, like what?
He talks about how businesses are helping to reduce global hunger, improve access to education and healthcare, even the potential for fostering peace, through trade and stuff like that.
Wow. I never thought about it that way.
Yeah.
It's like entrepreneurship as a force for global good.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that it's not just about profits.
Right.
It's about making a difference in the world, making it a better place.
It's about purpose, for sure.
Yeah. And I think that leads to the final, most important question Schmincke asks. If business is truly this engine for progress, how should we measure success?
That's a great question. Is it just about the bottom line?
Right. Like, is it just about the money? Or is there something more, a responsibility to create positive change along the way?
That's a question worth pondering, for sure. And that feels like the perfect place to wrap up this deep dive.
I agree. It's been a really great discussion.
It really has. I always learned so much from our conversations, and I hope our listeners feel the same way.
Me too. And hey, next time you hear someone say, be the lead dog, just remember those dogs in the back.
Having a grand old time.
Exactly. Embrace the journey, learn from the missteps, and remember, sometimes the greatest success comes from knowing how to lose powerfully.
Words to live by. Thank you so much for another insightful deep dive. I always appreciate your unique perspective and willingness to challenge conventional thinking.
It's my pleasure. Until next time, everyone, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep into the world of knowledge.
And we'll be right here with you every step of the way.